What if a chilly autumn night in New York City masked a truth that could shatter a life? As the cold seeped into her bones and the streets hushed, Olivia Carter, a 32-year-old with a kind but weary face, huddled in her old sedan, which had become her sanctuary for the past 2 weeks. What brought her to this moment of solitude? As the evening deepened, the shadows would unveil secrets she never anticipated, changing her reality forever. Olivia had lost her apartment after an unexpected medical bill drained her savings. She'd been working two jobs, day shifts at a local bakery and night shifts as a security guard, just to scrape by. But when her landlord raised the rent, she couldn't keep up. With nowhere else to turn, she found herself sleeping in her car, carefully tucked into discreet parking spots where she hoped no one would notice. That night, Olivia had wrapped herself in a thick blanket, trying to stay warm as the city's lights cast long shadows on her car. Her eyes fluttered closed, exhaustion overtaking her after another grueling day. She didn't notice the sleek black SUV pulling into the lot a few spaces away. Inside the SUV sat Donald J. Trump, one of the most recognizable figures in the world. He'd just come from a late dinner meeting nearby, dressed in a dark overcoat and his signature red tie. While his driver stepped out to check the tires, Trump glanced out the window and noticed Olivia's car. Something about it caught his attention. The way it seemed packed with belongings, the faint glow of a small reading light illuminating the inside. "Why is someone parked here at this hour?" Trump asked his driver, frowning slightly. The driver shrugged. "Probably just someone resting, sir." But Trump wasn't convinced. He was no stranger to the struggles of everyday Americans, even if critics often painted him as out of touch. He'd built his career on instinct, and something about this situation didn't sit right with him. "Wait here," Trump said, stepping out of the SUV. His breath formed a mist in the cold air as he approached Olivia's car. Knocking gently on the window, he startled Olivia awake. She sat up quickly, her heart pounding as she rolled down the window a crack. "Is everything okay?" she asked nervously, her voice trembling. Trump held up his hands, his expression softer than she expected. "I didn't mean to scare you," he said. "I just wanted to make sure you were all right. It's cold out here, and it looks like you've been here a while." Olivia hesitated, unsure of what to say. She wasn't used to strangers showing concern, let alone someone as famous as Donald Trump. Finally, she nodded. "I'm fine, just resting." But Trump wasn't convinced. He glanced at the back seat, where a pile of blankets and a few bags of clothes were stacked neatly. "You live in this car, don't you?" Olivia froze, her face flushing with embarrassment. I I don't have anywhere else to go," she admitted quietly. Trump's expression shifted, a mix of concern and determination crossing his face. "What's your name?" he asked. "Olivia," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Well, Olivia, you're not staying out here tonight," Trump said firmly. "Come on, get your things. Let's find you somewhere warm to stay." Olivia stared at him, stunned. "Wait, what? You don't even know me. Why would you do that?" Trump smiled faintly. "I've been in tough spots before, believe it or not, and sometimes all it takes is a little help to turn things around. Now, are you coming, or do I have to drag you out of that car myself?" For a moment, Olivia hesitated. She wasn't sure if she could trust him, but something in his tone told her he was serious. Reluctantly, she nodded and began gathering her belongings. Trump called ahead to a nearby hotel, arranging for Olivia to have a room for the night. When they arrived, the staff greeted him with the kind of deference reserved for VIPs, but he waved them off, insisting they focus on Olivia. "She'll need a hot meal and anything else she requires," he instructed the hotel manager. Olivia stood awkwardly in the lobby, clutching her backpack. She felt out of place, her worn clothes and tired appearance a stark contrast to the luxurious surroundings. "Why are you doing this?" she asked Trump again as he handed her a key card. "Because everyone deserves a second chance," he replied. "You're working hard, doing your best. You shouldn't have to live like this." The sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. She nodded, a lump forming in her throat as she whispered, "Thank you." Trump gave her a small smile. "Get some rest tonight, Olivia. Tomorrow we'll figure out the next steps." The following morning, Olivia woke up in the softest bed she'd ever slept in. For a moment, she thought she was dreaming, but the sight of her bags neatly placed in the corner brought her back to reality. She sat up, overwhelmed by the kindness she'd been shown. When she went downstairs, Trump was already in the lobby, sipping coffee and talking on the phone. He waved her over as he ended the call. "Good morning," he said. "Did you sleep well?" Olivia nodded. "Better than I have in months, thank you, Mr. Trump." "Call me Donald," he said with a smile. "Now let's talk about what comes next. What kind of work are you doing right now?" Olivia hesitated. "I'm a baker during the day and a security guard at night," she said. "It's exhausting, but it's all I can find." Trump nodded thoughtfully. "Baking, huh? Are you any good?" A small smile broke through her nerves. "I'd like to think so." "Good," Trump said, pulling out his phone. "I know a few people in the restaurant business. Let's see if we can find you something better. Something where you can use your skills and actually have time to sleep." Over the next hour, Trump made several calls, his connections opening doors Olivia never thought possible. By the end of the conversation, she had 2 interviews lined up at well-known bakeries in the city. "Why are you helping me so much?" Olivia asked, her voice filled with both gratitude and disbelief. Trump leaned back in his chair, his expression serious. "Because I can, and because people like you deserve a chance to succeed. I've always believed in hard work, but sometimes even the hardest workers need a little help." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes as she realized the magnitude of what was happening. "I don't know how I can ever repay you," she said. Trump waved her off. "Just pay it forward someday. That's all I ask." As Olivia prepared to leave for her first interview, she turned to Trump one last time. "You didn't have to stop last night," she said. "You could have driven away and never thought about me again. Why didn't you?" Trump's gaze softened. "Because I saw someone who reminded me of the struggles so many people face, and I saw someone who didn't give up, even when things got tough. That kind of resilience deserves a little help." With that, he gave her a firm handshake and wished her luck. Olivia left the hotel with a renewed sense of hope, ready to take on the opportunities that lay ahead. As Trump watched her go, he felt a quiet satisfaction. For all the headlines and controversies that surrounded him, moments like this reminded him of what truly mattered: helping others when they needed it most. Olivia's interview at Bellamy's Artisan Bakery couldn't have gone better. She had walked into the bustling bakery that morning, her nerves barely under control, but her years of experience and passion for baking spoke louder than her modest resume. The manager, Ms. Bellamy, a sharp but kind woman in her 40s, had been impressed. "I can see you know your way around a kitchen," Ms. Bellamy said with a smile after tasting one of Olivia's freshly made cinnamon rolls. "I'd like to offer you a full-time position. We start early, but the pay is steady, and there's plenty of room to grow." Olivia could hardly believe her ears. She shook Ms. Bellamy's hand, tears threatening to spill over as she thanked her profusely. But as she walked out of the bakery and into the crisp morning air, a new thought crept into her mind. None of this would have been possible without Donald Trump. Olivia returned to the hotel that evening to find the lobby buzzing with reporters. Cameras flashed, microphones jutted forward, and questions flew through the air. "Ms. Carter, how did you meet Donald Trump? What's your story? Do you think his help was genuine or just a publicity stunt?" Olivia froze, overwhelmed by the crowd. Trump, who was seated in a quiet corner, noticed her hesitation and walked over. "Step back, everyone," he said, his commanding presence silencing the reporters. "You're scaring her." As the crowd reluctantly gave Olivia some space, Trump turned to her with a reassuring smile. "You don't have to answer their questions if you don't want to," he said gently. But Olivia took a deep breath and stepped forward, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I want to speak." The room fell silent as she continued. "2 days ago, I was sleeping in my car, unsure of how I was going to get through another week. Mr. Trump didn't have to help me, but he did. And it wasn't about publicity, it was about kindness. He gave me a chance when no one else would." Her words struck a chord, and the reporters scribbled furiously in their notebooks. Trump, standing behind her, looked both proud and slightly humbled. "Kindness doesn't have a political party," Olivia added. "It's about seeing someone in need and choosing to act. And that's what he did for me." The next morning, Olivia woke to find her story plastered across news outlets and social media. The hashtags for Olivia Carter and Kindness in Action were trending. While some praised Trump for his generosity, others questioned his motives. Ignoring the noise, Olivia focused on her new job. She threw herself into her work at Bellamy's, her confidence growing with each batch of pastries she perfected. Miss Bellamy, recognizing Olivia's talent, quickly promoted her to head baker. Meanwhile, Trump was quietly keeping tabs on Olivia's progress. A few weeks later, he called her. "How's the new job treating you?" he asked. "It's amazing," Olivia said, her voice brimming with gratitude. "I can't thank you enough for everything you've done." Trump chuckled. "Don't thank me yet. I have one more idea and I think you'll like it." He explained his plan. He wanted to fund a community outreach program that combined Olivia's love for baking with helping others in need. The program would teach baking skills to unemployed individuals, giving them a chance to learn a trade and rebuild their lives. Olivia was speechless. "You want me to run it?" "Who better?" Trump said. "You've lived it, Olivia. You know what it's like to struggle and to persevere. That's the kind of person who can inspire others." Over the next few months, Olivia worked closely with Trump's team to launch the Rising Dough Initiative. The program opened its first training kitchen in a modest neighborhood, equipped with everything aspiring bakers could need. At the grand opening, Olivia stood at the podium, addressing a small crowd of participants, local officials, and reporters. Trump stood beside her, his presence lending weight to the occasion. "This program isn't just about baking," Olivia said, her voice filled with emotion. "It's about second chances. It's about proving to yourself and the world that you're capable of more than you ever imagined." The audience erupted into applause, and Olivia caught Trump's eye. He gave her a small nod, his expression one of quiet pride. The Rising Dough Initiative quickly gained traction, expanding to other cities and changing countless lives. Participants who had once felt hopeless now found themselves with new skills, steady jobs, and a renewed sense of purpose. Olivia, who had gone from living in her car to running a nationwide program, became a symbol of resilience and hope. Her story inspired others to extend a helping hand to those in need, proving that small acts of kindness could create a ripple effect of change. As for Trump, he never sought to take credit for the initiative. When asked about it during an interview, he simply said, "It was Olivia's vision. I just gave her a little push." One evening, months after the program's launch, Olivia returned to Liberty Diner, the place where she used to scrape together her last dollars for a cup of coffee. She sat at a booth by the window, her heart full as she reflected on how far she'd come. The bell above the door jingled, and she looked up to see Trump walking in, his red tie slightly askew. He spotted her and smiled. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. "Of course not," Olivia said, grinning. As they sat and talked, the diner's familiar hum in the background, Olivia realized something. Her life had changed not just because of Trump's help, but because she had chosen to believe in herself and take the opportunities given to her. And in that moment, over a shared cup of coffee, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope for the future.